JoeyShotz with Miami Dolphins.
The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown.
Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got a man. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And we are back here for another one on this Tuesday night. I want to thank all of y'all for not only tuning in, but also I surpassed 9,000 followers on Twitter. And I've got over 11,000 subs on YouTube. So across two platforms, we're sitting over 20,000 subs and followers, you know. Basically almost 10K on each. So I appreciate all of you who continue to support me and who continue to support this channel. And I'm so appreciative of all of you that, you know, like, for example, I got a donation after the show yesterday from Michelle, a $25 donation. And I appreciate, you know, thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you who donate, who smash the like button, who tell their friends about the show. Whatever you can do that's within your reach to support the channel, as simple as smashing the like button all the way to donating or becoming a Patreon or channel member. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of you. You're the reason why my voice has become so strong in this community, and you guys are the reason why we continue to make waves in this community and be one of the best platforms out there. Thank you so much to all of you who support me and support the channel. I mean, my appreciation is never ending, and my love for all of y'all is endless. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Y'all have truly humbled me. I mean, I never thought I'd be sitting here, you know, who thought 5 years ago I'd be sitting here in my own merch and chilling, like, you know, I never thought. So I thank you guys so much. 5 years ago, I didn't even think I was doing this. I was in, you know, I was basically, you know, in, you know, quality control, and moved from the manufacturing to the chemical industry, you know, making a good, steady paycheck. Never would have thought I'd be sitting here doing YouTube, but here we are. So thank you all for supporting me. I appreciate all of y'all, because since I was a kid, you know, it's always been, you know, I always have wanted to be involved with sports. And, you know, I played baseball, I played football. We talked about that. I played hockey growing up. All at pretty, you know, obviously football at the highest level of them, all three. But the other two I played at pretty high levels too. And I always wanted to be an announcer. I always wanted to be on Sports Center. That was more of an interest to me than actually, that's just how I was. So, you know, for an over opinionated guy like me, it's the dream job. So I appreciate all of you, and thank you all of you for giving me the platform to do this and the ability to do this. It truly is a dream come true, and it is not possible without the dream weavers that all of you are. So thank you again. Endless appreciation, and I am truly humbled by all of your continued and constant support. It means the world to this guy. So thank you so much. All right, now let's hop into the comments, because Chris Solo said something that I haven't said since, man, me and my buddies used to say that in our 20s, and I'll get to that, but let's shout out everyone here. DF, Marino's GOAT, Prospectle, Anthony Law, 10442, Knight, Angel, Brian Gonzalez, Aladino, Big Heck, JB, Bob, Oliver, Justin Vandenberg, Robert Thomason, Jason Myers, Kurok, Charles Hilton, D Hugga, how you doing, homie? Denisha, Jason Keck, Stevie TV, Jeff Premont, the homie, OG Chef Jude, the homie. What up, Austin? Go Kings. I'm rooting for Austin, man. All you Dolphin fans, you should be rooting for the Sacramento Kings. We can relate to the pain of the Sacramento Kings. So shout out to Austin. Scotty, Everton. Well, I get you all gonna cheer for your Heat. So I'm talking about Western Conference teams then for y'all. 10-17 man, Everton, Brian Shorts, Scott Stevens, Upland, Larry L, Scotty, Rome, Gray, Gary, Skeleton, Scorpion King. Apparently Dwayne Johnson's in the chat. Shout out to him. Chris Solo said, Reason, what's crack-a-lackin', my guy? That's what we used to say back in the day. Oh, up here, the crack-a-lackin', man. Rafael Lopez, shout out to you. Corey Moore, George Rabber, Sean Davis, King Short, Scotty Joe, Duke Tomlinson, Larry Lockridge, Gene Rosario. Let's see, more names we're looking here. Patrick Gator, Paulie King 305, Ivan, Tank McBride, Coach AJ, Jason Greaves. Yo, Jason, been a minute. Hope you're doing well, sir. Robert Carrillo, Filet Mignon, Aragon, Lonnie Smith, Chad, Fins Post, No Name Fins, Marlboro Man, Kevin Santos, Brian, New Attitude, James Steele, Tony T, Barney, John Wayne's 45. That's amazing. I love that. Oh, God, some of the names you guys come up with. We got Spawn. We got over 300 people in the chat. Please do me the favor. Smash the like button. Ish the Human, what's good? Listen, we got a lot to go over. A lot of it's kind of Dalvin Cook-centric. We got listen. Okay, let's break this down, okay? We got an article from Adam Beasley. We got the betting odds, the current betting odds, but we got a post. And we're going to go over this. And it is from an unlikely source. But, I tried to fact check the individual as much as I could because they made a claim in the post that was really easy to fact check. So I'm going to say before we get into it, take it with a grain of salt, but I fact-checked this guy on the last thing he claimed, and he was 100% accurate. And he actually ended up, he's claimed a lot of the things that I have about Cook, but he also apparently claimed a lot of things that I did about Fangio. So we're going to go over that because, listen, I talked to a few people privately and showed them to it, and I'm going to be straight with you. What's up, Jeffrey? Mark Wayne, Miami fan. 113 JFam. I had no intention of having a show tonight, guys. None whatsoever. And then this was brought to my attention by one of the mods here, I believe. I believe he's a mod. I'm pretty sure. I know he's a member. And it was brought to my attention. I saw it first thing this morning. And it was by Rob Thompson here. What's up, Reason, says Justin Vandenberg. What's up? Appreciate you. Taryn, how you doing? Member for 7 months. Appreciate that. So, this was brought to my attention by Rob Thompson, one of our guys here, one of our members, and I believe he's a mod. Rob, if you're not a mod, let me know in the chat, because I'm pretty sure you're a mod. And I showed this to a couple other people. And they both said, one person said, you got to go live right now about it. The other person was like, okay, you need to go live about it and talk about it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go over that. And it's kind of interesting. And, okay, there you go. Let me take care of that right now. So we're going to go over that. It's just going to, listen, whatever. We're going to go over it. All right? I'm not going to overly explain it because at the same sense, I'm going to say it's coming from someone else, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's worth talking about. So we're going to go over that. Adam Beasley, the betting odds. We're going to talk about the running back. Barry Jackson dropped a really good article with a lot of good nuggets on tight ends. We've literally flown out to Miami and talked about, and looks like an 84 type of selection, the guy they flew out. And then an interesting thing I want to talk about, one of our cornerbacks, and their potential upcoming next contract. So, you know what? Let's just hop into this. Let's just not even sit here and string it out. So let's hop into this. This was sent to me today. Now I've screenshot it, okay? And you can go look for this for yourself. So let me give you some background. So if people don't know, there is a message board. Now, it's been a lot of guys who are in the media back in the day, like the South Florida media, they used to frequent these boards. All right? These people have podcasts now. You know, some of them have worked for the team themselves. So this board is it's been around for a long time. Before YouTube content creators were here, before Dolphins Twitter, FinHeaven.com was one of the biggest places to go. So this was sent to me today, all right? And I'm going to read this to you. This is from a member. His name is Aquaman, okay? He's been a member. You can see right here, he's been a member since 2004. So let's read this. This is one of the biggest topics on FinHeaven.com. And listen, I haven't checked out FinHeaven in years. And then this was sent to me today. Let's get into it. So first of all, mods, this is another Dalvin Cook thread, but I think it could stand alone as a new thread. If you don't see it that way, emergent, no hard feelings. Next, my disclaimer. I have a family member that works in the Falcon front office. Every once in a while, he hears things Dolphins related and gives me the skinny. If anybody remembers, during the great Fangio media meltdown of 2023, I came in and shared some info that was conveyed to me that Fangio to Miami was absolutely a done deal and that we'd see him with the Dolphins when the dust settled. So with that said, I went back and looked at Aquaman's former post, and he did say that, all right? And there's people who have responded in this thread who remembered the Fangio stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And the Fangio thing was the first time he ever sourced, was what he'll say here. So he said, I came in and shared some info, whatever. He said, in over 15 years, this was the only time I had posted inside info on here because I felt very solid about the source. I understand an awful lot of people claim to have sources on the internet. Well, Aquaman, come on to YouTube and you'll see that apparently because I was right with my sources, I've started a trend and all these YouTubers now claim they have sources. It's hilarious. So please take the following, and even he says, and I'll tell you, take the following with a grain of salt. Okay? He says here, my second ever inside source post, Dalvin Cook is coming to Miami. I feel good about my source because the Falcons kicked the tires on Cook, but were rebuffed by the Vikings. So this is how he knows. His family member who works for the Falcons, they kicked the tires on Cook. They were rebuffed by the Vikings. And look at all the moves the Falcons have made this offseason. Just on defense alone. The Falcons are looking to take that freaking division because it's weak right now. So anyways, the story as I've heard it is that Minnie told Atlanta that while they'd be willing to talk about a trade, Cook has already let it be known to the Minnesota front office, and that would be through his agent, that Miami is the only trade partner that he consider extending and reworking his current deal for. Now, this is another reason why I'm posting this for you guys and showing you. Usually I wouldn't show this kind of stuff, but I've been telling you guys for weeks, this is what I've been hearing, that we're the only team he's been willing to play financial ball with. I've had Patreon posts about this. I've told you guys while I'm live about this. So I can actually back up that little part that he says right there. All right? That makes sense to me. So he says, as we all know, using that leverage is basically like creating your own no-trade clause, as teams are not going to part with any assets for a running back rental. This is the exact scenario that brought Jalen Ramsey to Miami. While it's been behind closed doors thus far, Cook and his agent are hell-bent on steering him to Miami and feel like the Vikings are in a no-win situation in which they're going to have to trade him for a pretty pedestrian return or force the Vikings' hand in cutting him so he can immediately sign with the Fins. My source says it's simply not a matter of if, but when. Another tidbit I think the board will love. He said the Atlanta GM has joked about not answering his phone when Chris Greer's number pops up. I guess a lot of GMs in the league refer to him as Trader Greer and feel like he almost comes out as the clear-cut winner on trades. Listen, again, take that with a grain of salt. I will say that. But a lot of things that this guy is claiming jive with a lot of the things that we've heard, that I've heard and have told you I've heard privately, and some of the things that have been indicated publicly. I mean, look at what he says. Listen, on the Hellbent on steering to Miami. I told you, you came away from the interview with the agent. It was evident. The agent told all of y'all, the media is not usually wrong about the trade stuff, and he said they're off about the draft stuff, but they're pretty right about the trade stuff. And what do you think he was talking about? Because the guy directly asked him about if we were trying to trade for him. So, and then I listen. I always go back to that clip that I played you with his agent. When that man stopped short and said, I can't wait to see, I got to stop right there. I can't talk about it yet. What does that tell you? The man was literally about to say, I can't wait to see Dalvin Cook in enter city name here. And I'm going to tell you this. The city rhymes with Miami, okay? That's what the city rhymes with that he was talking about. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pass off a post on finheaven.com as a 110% verified source. I'm showing you the information so you can make your own observation, opinion, whatever the case may be. Hell, I implore you when this show is done, go find that post on FinHeaven and read the thread, and then go look on Aquaman's threads on what he said about Fangio. You'll see the same thing I did. People reinforcing he was right about Fangio, and then you'll see that he was trying to be a calming voice during everyone, and we saw it on Twitter. Everyone freaking out that Fangio wasn't going to come here, and I was the same on here on YouTube. Now, in terms of, I know what people are going to say. Well, how do other teams get info? What are you talking about? I know that's already going to come. Remember, let's talk about the draft. How did the Denver Broncos find out we were planning to take Javonte Williams so they traded up ahead of us? I've already explained that to everyone. All these people are in their circles and they talk. It happens. Listen, when me and Neil got the information that Wilkins, which has now come out and been verified by Barry Jackson, when we got the information they were far apart on money, that came from a source inside the Lions. Neil told all of y'all where that came from. That information came from a source inside the Lions and ended up being spot on. And then what Alpha told us, that they're still close to getting it done, everyone backed up with, yeah, there's a pay gap, but both sides are optimistic a deal is going to get done. So Alpha was verified and the Detroit source was verified. The gap is the financial gap right now. Teams talk. People in circles talk. That's just how this works. People need to stop thinking that every headquarters is freaking Fort Knox. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. As a guy who's plugged, you know how much information I used to get under Brian Flores compared to what I get under Mike McDaniel? It is way harder. And I talked to a ton of people privately about this who get information. And it is way harder to get information out during the McDaniel regime than it was during the Flores regime. You know why? And the Flores sympathizers aren't going to like this, but this is just the facts. This is just the facts. People didn't like Flores. They didn't respect Flores. So they had no problem. No problem. Man, his own guy that he brought over leaked information that he from New England. Brian Flores' own hire leaked information from him and ended up getting fired. I'm not going to drop the name of said person, but they were in the communications and social media / division, okay? And they got canned, and that was Brian Flores' own dude that he brought over. All right? That's just, sorry, I hate to be the one to tell people that still believe in, I don't know why you would, but there's still, the two haters, they're the Flores lovers too, right? They're the same thing. So, anyways, back to Dalvin. I digress. I've been saying this and I would continue to say this. Dalvin Cook is going to be Miami Dolphin. You know, I'll point out what the guy said in there. I've told you guys this for weeks, whether you're on Patreon or whether you're up here. I told you after. I told the Patrons first. Dalvin's willing to play ball financially. I've known that for weeks. And this guy's hearing it through, I mean, he's got to have someone high up in the Falcons organization. But again, That's something I've known. This is where he wants to come. This man, listen, and go look at what's happening. I don't know if you guys have seen, but let's start. See, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to tell you right now where the running back market is going for these guys. I don't know if you guys have seen the word that just came out over the last couple hours, but Joe Mixon is going to be asked to either rework his contract or he's going to be let go. Do you know what's going to start to happen with these running backs? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. These guys are going to start to realize they're going to have to play on a fair deal. It's going to come down to, I think it's moving to, these guys are going to start playing on more fair deals to win. So I think Dalvin Cook, first of all, it works out. Dalvin Cook could take $7-8 million here, and due to tax break, he's making what he would make with $10 or $11 million on another team. Plus, he has a chance to win a Super Bowl. Dalvin Cook could take $6 million. He could trade Cedric and give him Cedric's money. And that's like $9 million if you go to a place with taxes. But this is where I think the trend you're going to start seeing going with Joe Mixon. Like Joe Mixon, you know what? Because you're going to force him. Hey, take less money and we got a chance to win a Super Bowl. What's more important to you? Getting paid to your legacy. You've already made all this money. And that's where I think these guys are going to start going. Look at Dalvin's already made money. He's already been re-upped. Now I think as long as it's a fair contract, and I don't mean $14 million fair. I mean fair where, $6-7 million. I think he's going to take that and he's going to come play. Because again, if he goes to a place like New York, that's like $11 million. This guy, if he makes $6-7 million here, that's like $10 or $11 million in New York playing for the Jets. With Breece Hall, I'm just using them as an example. They don't need them because Breece Hall's coming back. I'm just using them as an example with their tax bracket. Do you see where I'm going here? It just makes sense. And plus, hometown boy. I'm telling you. It just makes too much sense. Dalvin Cook. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Another reason why they want Dalvin Cook is because of what he offers in the passing game. Would I cry if they went and got Derrick Henry? No, but this is why it makes much more sense they're tied to Dalvin Cook. Now, could Jahmyr Gibbs fall into the lap at 51? Sure. I don't think it'll happen. But sure. Because here's where I'm at. With Dalvin, why don't you trade? This is what I would do. This is just me. Listen, take Cedric Wilson. I will give you a conditional 2024 pick. Try and, give one of our later round picks and make it conditional that it can move up into something. Like maybe it can turn into a 2025, because that's when we have a 2025 third if he rushes for 1,000 yards this year. I don't know about turning it into a second. You can make it conditional that it turns into a second if we win the Super Bowl this year. Right? You could do something like that. You could do it not just player. You could do it, I don't know if you could do a team performance based like that. I know you can do it in the NHL. I don't know if you can do that in the NFL. But I know you can do player performance based, like if he hits 1,000 yards, conditional. So if you can conditionalize that basically on even an AFC championship win, then it turns in, sure. Ask yourself right now, would you take an AFC championship run for a second round pick with Dalvin Cook added? Ask yourself right now. All of you would say yes. Every single one of you would say yes. Every single one of you. And I keep telling you, this is why I go back. The Vikings aren't looking to cut him right now. The Vikings are posturing because they want more, because we're sitting there saying, bro, we ain't giving you nothing. That's what you're seeing right now. This is all posturing. They're trying to squeeze us for a little bit extra. And we're sitting there saying, nah, we don't got the capital. Take this 6th or take this 7th. We ain't giving you anything else. Because they might not even want Cedric Wilson because they're trying to take off. They're trying to dump salary right now. Shout out to Michelle for the super chat donation, $9.99. Appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I shouted you out earlier. Thank you so much for your support. But they're sitting back saying, take this 6th, 7th round pick. They got all the leverage. The Dolphins have all the leverage right now because they know if you cut him, unless some team comes with an insane offer, he's coming to Miami. And Dalvin Cook and his agent are sitting there telling them, listen, I'm going there. You might as well get what you can get. You cut me, I'm there. If you trade me, I want you to trade me there. I mean, that dude in the poster's right. This is turning into a Ramsey thing. And listen, here's another reason why I want them to take that 6th or 7th. Listen, we've seen this before. Players say, fuck, we just saw it in free agency. Poyer was telling everyone he wanted to come to Miami. Sounded like he was packing his house up with his wife, and his wife was liking every tweet. What I kept saying, guys, his wife's liking every tweet about the Cowboys, too. Like, let's. But then started hearing things, and then we didn't offer him what he wanted. He thought we were going to come out here and just, put money on the table. And no. Dolphins said, okay, well, if you're that interested, here's what we got. The Dolphins are notorious for lowballing even their own players when they open up negotiations. That's just what they're notorious for. And Poyer thought it was going to be the payday. They said, nah. While you want them to at least take the 6th or 7th, you don't want another team to get involved. I don't want the Bills to come in and be desperate. And because I've heard the Bills are moving away from spending on defense and they're throwing money. They're just throwing. They want to throw that money at the offense. I don't want them to come in with a stupid offer for Dalvin Cook. Now, hopefully Dalvin doesn't want to go there because he doesn't want anything to do with trying to take his brother's spot. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you. She says, thanks for the great content. I always learn so much from your channel. Thank you, Michelle. Hey, by you learning even just a little bit, that makes me smile because I'm doing my job. I appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you so much for all your constant support. You've been coming around these parts for quite some time now. So thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you. Knight donated too. He said $2, and he donated Noah Wilson a 6th for Cook and a 5th win-win. I think you'd have to take the 5th out. And let's be honest, is Flores even a fan of Noah? It's not like Noah was hitting the field under Flores. I think he wants to stay away from him. Andy says we have to pay. And I agree. Yeah, they signed Damian Harris. But listen, and Nyheim Hines did more on special teams than he did for running for them. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Dalvin Cook's a game changer. Thank you, TC on Sticks. I appreciate you. Dalvin Cook is you make that move because he's a game changer. You find a way to pay a talent like that $6 or $7 million. I'm sorry. People out here starting to complain about money. Are you serious right now? You sign him to a 2-year deal, and if he has to go 3-year, you make it a team option 3-year. 2-year deal with a team option on the 3rd. Pay him this year because that $13 million clears up after June 1st. You pay him this year. Buddy, we're all in. You are throwing everything in the kitchen sink right now at getting a chip. What are we talking about nickel and diming right now? And I've been telling you before I broke down that Barry Jackson article that we've set up that running back room where goodbye, sayonara, adios to any which one of those guys you want to choose right now. It doesn't matter. Dalvin Cook is better than that whole room combined. Let's not lie to ourselves right now and start nitpicking yards per carry stats, okay? Because out of the backfield, receiving and passing, Dalvin Cook is a far better weapon. And then when you look at what he's done, people try to tell he declined. First of all, Who the hell are all y'all to be out here as Dolphin fans talking about a guy who just rushed for 1,173 yards and say he's on the decline with what we've watched in that backfield since Jay Ajayi left? Please, all right? I already have watched a portion of our fan base become beggars have become choosers with Tua. Let's not start doing that with running back right now, because they're the same people who want a dynamic running back in the draft without realizing that the top 2 are the most dynamic and they ain't going to be there at 51. Every other guy who's dynamic has a flaw. Devin A-Chain, everyone knows he's a man crush of mine. Love the kid. But he got a flaw. The guy's 185, 190 pounds. And no matter which one you want to name Bijan, who do you want to name? They aren't proven like Dalvin's proven. None of these guys have rushed for over 4,000 yards over the last 4 years at the NFL level. Last time I checked. Proven commodity? Unknown. Listen, and this is coming from a guy who thinks Bijan's pretty much generational. So, because Saquon was generational coming out of Penn State. It hasn't worked out that way, but the tape was generational. I don't know what to tell you. Dalvin Cook. How do you defend us? How do you defend this team with Dalvin Cook, Tyreek Hill, Braxton Berrios, Jalen Waddle, Robbie Anderson? How do you defend us? Light in the box, Dalvin and Raheem Mostert as a combo. Because that'll be the combo if Dalvin comes here. I'm telling you right now. Jeff Wilson and Ahmed get bumped down. And Raheem Mostert and Dalvin. And I'm going to tell you, Raheem Mostert, listen, whether we get Dalvin or not, I've said this and I will say this. I do expect a big year from Raheem because I have said this since last year. He didn't seem like he was fully recovered by the end of this season from, because you think about it. He admitted he started the season and he wasn't fully recovered from it. But then the wear and tear of a season itself on the rest of your body, he was not fully 100%. I think Raheem Mostert physically is going to be in a lot better shape to make it through the year and being more... Like, we saw a lot of runs where if he was far more healthy, he would have finished them off. I think you'll see those get finished off a little bit more this year. But him and Dalvin would be so explosive out of the back. We'd be indefensible. All we need is a red zone threat. And I think that's what a guy like Eric Ezukanma can turn into. Hell, Saubert's shown a little bit in the red zone through his career. Maybe they draft a tight end. But it's another hole you don't got to worry about. It's like every draft. Aren't you guys sick and tired for the last 3 drafts? Y'all remember how much I wanted Kenneth Gainwell. How big of a part was he for the Eagles? And I kept watching him into day 3. I watched us pass up on that guy. And then we finally look like we're finally going to make a move on him in the Eagles. Whatever, moved up or picked him like 10 times before, so I was pulling my hair out. I'm done. Figure it out. Jeez. I'm not going to sit here and hold my breath that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to fall to us. I'm not going to hold my breath that Devin A-Chain would be absolutely explosive if they had him. I mean, the guy's like a 4.2 speed on field. I'm not going to hold my breath that they're going to draft one of those guys. Go get the proven commodity. And if you really want to show me you got balls, go get Dalvin Cook and then turn around and package everything you got this year and a pick next year and go get Darnell Wright. But it ain't going to happen. Because I'm hearing rumblings that Darnell's going to be the first guy off the board in terms of tackles. Right? When everyone was talking everyone else all year, reason over here was saying Darnell Wright. And now I'm hearing he's the top guy. Oh, Stephen Ross. This whole tampering. You tampered. You didn't even get the guy. And now it's costing us that kind of blue chip talent potentially. Unbelievable. Because you know what you could have just done? Just taken the pick with the first round pick. If we would have picked 21, I believe it would have been. You could have taken that 21st pick, packaged, and moved up. Locked in your right tackle for the rest of. Because I think it's going to be. Him or Broderick Jones from Georgia that goes first. Broderick's just so animalistic. It's ridiculous. I mean, hell, this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this. Look, I think it's a smokescreen, but I'm hoping this Peter Skoronski talk is for real and people want to slide him into guard. Please slide him into guard and let him slide. Please. Oh, my God. That's another guy. You could have Oh, because that guy's going to be a stud. I think he's a tackle too. So, anyways, this is what, okay, so we went over that post. Now let's go over what Adam Beasley said, because it's a lot different energy from Adam Beasley. It's even a lot different energy than what Barry Jackson said. So this is what Adam Beasley wrote today. He said, Miami Dolphins general manager Chris Grier will take questions with local reporters Wednesday in the team's pre-draft news conference. So tomorrow we will be covering it, and guess what? We are going to get some answers. But the most pointed questions he faces might be about the 41st pick of the 2017 draft, Minnesota Vikings running back Dalvin Cook. The framing of the questions regarding Cook will be important because there's little about Cook that NFL rules allow Grier to say. Why? Less than a year ago, the NFL stripped the Dolphins of their first-round pick in the 2023 draft due to tampering. Grier will surely watch his words to avoid more trouble. Cook remains a member of the Minnesota Vikings and is under contract through 2025. He is owed $10.4 million in base salary. It could earn another $600,000 by hitting his incentives. However, only $2 million of that is guaranteed, making it possible for the Vikings to cut him if they choose. I'm telling you right now, they're going to trade for him, and then they're going to guarantee a lot of this after June 1st. That's what the Dolphins are going to do. Watch. Part of his incentive package is a workout bonus. He doesn't seem too concerned about collecting that, however, as he did not report for the start of Minnesota's OTAs. Instead, he remained where? In Florida, rehabbing his surgically repaired shoulder. People are starting to realize Dalvin averages 107 yards per game, his agent Zach Hiller said. He has Hall of Fame numbers, but he's been in Minnesota and they've been mediocre. He actually has incredible statistics, but he's also been playing with one shoulder. He's been purposely, and that is part of the business, but he's been purposely turning certain ways and thinking about that when he's about to get hit. The most interesting thing I'd say with Dalvin right now is that I'm excited to see him fully intact. We might never see Cook fully intact for the Vikings again. If Minnesota cuts him with a post-June 1st designation, they would save $9 million against the cap. And if they cut him on a post-June 1st designation, when all that money frees up for us, he's even more a Dolphin. Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah didn't exactly tamp down the speculation that Cook might be soon gone. When asked about Cook and edge rusher Zadarius Smith, another potential cap casualty last week, he said, conversations are ongoing and we try to be solutions-oriented. The Vikings are wise to deliberately weigh the pros and cons to moving on from Cook, who rushed for 1,173 yards and 8 touchdowns on one shoulder in 2020. But he's in the decline, guys. He did that in one shoulder, but he's in the decline. I don't know about that. Trading him seems like a non-starter unless Cook agrees to take a significant pay cut. And which I've already told y'all he's willing to play ball with us. Few teams have the budget or the appetite at this point. This is all. Listen. See, this is a very narrow-sighted position Beasley's taking. You know why? It's not about the pay cut. It's about guaranteed money. He's only got $2 million worth of guaranteed money left. That's what he wants. If he hits the open market, expect a long list of suitors, and the Dolphins will be on that list. So that's why he makes it. Trade for him now, take his contract, restructure it, give him his guaranteed money after the June 1st salary opens up. Plus, you're going to extend Wilkins, which will free up even more money. And then guess what? That's all he wants. How Dalvin Cook could land with the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins on paper aren't an obvious landing spot. They have just $3.7 million in salary, although that figure doesn't include the $13.6 million. So we're talking about over $17 million clear up over June 1st, and they want to make him a post-June 1st designation. Where do you think he's coming? He's coming here. That figure doesn't include the $13.6 million that will open up when Byron Jones' contract comes off the books in June. But beyond finances, they've already addressed the position in the significant. Have they, though? See, again, very narrow-sighted surface take here. The Dolphins have brought back basically their entire running back room from 2022, re-signing Wilson, Mostert, Achman, and Gaskin at a big-time discount. The four backs have combined salary cap charge of $6.8 million. Adding Cook might double that sum. He's probably going to not get $10 million on the open market, but he's also not going to get $2 million. The Miami Herald reports that the Dolphins and Cook have mutual interest. They talked about a trade early in the offseason but couldn't agree on compensation. Now, with their budget largely set, this is what he says. Now with their budget largely set, a trade seems less likely than a signing. So he thinks we would sign him if Cook gets cut. But he would likely have to give the Dolphins a hometown discount for it to happen unless the Dolphins decide to cut one or more players they just signed. But would they? Because he just in his self-article said that he would be a post-June 1st designation, and then in his own article just did his own math and saying we'd have over $17 million on June 1st. So this doesn't jive with what he said earlier in his article. In other words, a Cook-Dolphins union in 2023 isn't impossible, but at this point, it doesn't seem super likely. As for Grier, if nothing else, he can answer two straightforward questions. Are you satisfied with the veterans in your running back room, or are you still looking to add more? I can give you the answer to that, Adam. It's very easy. I don't need to see a Chris Grier interview. What's the answer? We like the guys we got, but we're always looking into upgrading every position on this team. If we can get better at any position, we will get better at that position. Come on, bro. I just gave you the answer. And number two, have you or anyone or your staff discussed a possible Dalvin Cook trade with the Vikings in recent weeks? He can't answer that. You can't say they're not going to answer that because that's going to give you're starting to get into leverage. You know what the answer is going to be? We've talked to multiple teams about multiple players, blah, 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 blah. That's what he's going to say. Come on, man. This is a safe space article, right? Listen, Barry Jackson's out here writing an article breaking down the running back room like I did, showing how easy it is for them to get out of all the contracts like I've been telling all of y'all. Come on, man. So his best adding was he thinks that it isn't impossible, but at this point it doesn't seem super likely. Give me a break. Come on, Adam. Come on, Adam. Let's wake up a little, kid. All right? All right. And, Vegas, bookies.com. Here are the team odds for Dalvin Cook. We are leading. We are ahead of the team he's currently on. And we're 200 points ahead of any other team beyond that. And we know how Vegas works. Vegas always knows something. Vegas always knows something. So, right now, the Miami Dolphins are leading on bookies.com. We're even ahead of the own team he's on. I don't know what to say. Vegas expects it. You got people coming out here with sources on boards I haven't frequented in 10 years who have had sources that have been right about other things saying that he's coming. I don't know. You got me constantly telling y'all what I keep hearing, what I know, and it's pointing in that direction. So, I don't know. Let's keep it rolling, though. Because some very interesting stuff here from Barry Jackson. All right, so let's get into this. So he's got an article here, a 6-pack of notes, and what Dolphins are doing with top tight ends and other positions they're eyeballing. So there's some interesting notes here. So a 6-pack of Miami notes on a Tuesday. The Dolphins have spent considerable time with the draft's top tight end prospects, a process that has continued in the past couple of weeks. According to an NCAA source, the Dolphins officials flew to South Dakota State to work out Tucker Kraft. a guy who I've told y'all I like, and I mean, that's a guy where he falls in that 51 to 84 range, depending on how the board is falling. And it's a name that I've told you that I've heard they like a lot. And now we've got confirmation they flew out to see him. Kraft had 27 catches for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns in 9 games last season. The Dolphins also spent time at Iowa's Pro Day with Sam Laporta and Penn State's Pro Day with Brenton Strange. Kraft came back from an injury. The offense didn't give him the ball that much. He's got talent, Mel Kiper said. Laporta, you can move outside as well as lining up in the slot. The Dolphins also allocated time to Georgia's Darnell Washington, who most expects will be gone by Miami's pick at 51, and Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. They auditioned Will Mallory, who, again, I told y'all I like. He was number 11 on my list. And general manager Chris Grier got in-person looks at Strange and Alabama's Cameron Latu, another guy on my top 20, on their college campuses. Darnell is a freakish talent, 6'6.5", 265 with his arm length. And the way he runs, that's a matchup nightmare, Kiper said. I could see him going in the first round. He's a dynamic talent. Musgrave is a move tight end, a Mike Gesicki type. He could be really good. This tight end spot goes deeper than the top 6. See, you didn't see Dalton Kincaid. I know there's rumors now about him going to Green Bay, but people are trying to label Sam Laporta as a Mike Gesicki when he's not. He's got 23 bench reps. He shows the willingness. He needs to be cleaned up technique-wise with his hand placement. So Sam Laporta is a guy that makes sense, but there's no Dalton Kincaid. Why? Because Dalton Kincaid is Mike Gesicki. Tight end coach John Embry, which you like to hear, has been very much involved in the process. And we know going back, Tony Gonzalez worked with him. All right. Cameron Jordan, Chris Cooley, George Kittle. So many tight ends have come under John Embry. Kraft, who is 6'5", 254, is a combination tight end with the projectable skill set to handle pass catching and run blocking duties at the next level. NFL.com's Lance Zierlein said Kraft provides formational versatility that will be appealing for teams that make heavy use of 12 personnel. He has the body control and catch toughness to be more than just a traditional wide tight end. Kraft has day 2 talent and should be on the field early with a chance to become a starting tight end. The Dolphins have selections in the 2nd round and the 3rd round, but don't pick again until 6th and 7th round. All of the aforementioned tight ends are expected to be second-day picks, except Mallory. Michigan's Luke Schoonmaker has been mentioned by ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed as a possibility for Miami's pick at 84, but Kiper said he's an early to mid-day 3 pick. I have him 8th on the board, which is a 4th round possibility. You could go 14, 15 deep at tight end with guys who could be drafted. Old Dominion and Zach Kuntz is among third-day options for Miami. Among tight ends, Kiper has Utah's Dalton Kincaid going 15th, Notre Dame's Michael Mayer going 26th, Washington 40th, Musgrave 42, and Strange 54th. The 33rd team, a think tank that was created by former Dolphins executive Mike Tannenbaum and others, uses 3 former NFL scouts and former Eagles personnel executive TJ McCrite to make their pre-draft evaluations. And those 4 surprisingly warn against using a second-day pick on Georgia's Washington. The 33rd team groups of scouts said Washington is productive in the run game, but he does not play with the explosiveness his testing numbers would suggest. His 4.08 20-yard shuttle was impressive for someone his size, but combine numbers don't always translate to the field. Additionally, Washington is not a natural pass catcher. Sometimes will fight the ball. He had 45 catches in his career at Georgia. The 33rd team said he should go in the range of 105. Yeah, okay, buddy. Not the mid-second round range that he's projected. The comment came days after NFL Network's Brian Baldinger encouraged the Dolphins to move up from 51 to draft him. That's crazy. Listen, on potential alone, he ain't going at 105. First of all, people are really... This feels like Jonathan Taylor all over again in terms of just because Georgia didn't give him the opportunity doesn't mean he can't do it. Because when they did give him the opportunity, I showed a bunch of highlights of all 22 in my evaluation of him, and the guy was game-breaking at times when it came to catching the football. And red zone alone, are we serious what that guy can develop into? I mean, we're talking about a game changer. Him, Laporta, and Zach Kuntz have the highest ceiling of all the tight ends of this draft. And already, the guy is one of the best blocking tight ends in recent memory we've seen to come out. So when you add in what you see him as an athlete test and what he can be, his potential ceiling as a pass catcher, come on, man. Part of scouting is projecting too. And you got to be able to project Washington. And when you look at his ceiling, it's unbelievable. This was the first year they started giving him touches. And the reason why he didn't get that many touches was because Browers was on that team, who's one of the best tight end prospects in the nation right now. And they were using him a lot more. If Browers wasn't there, then Washington would have had a lot more opportunities and chances. So, to me, this is kind of nonsense, but let's continue on here. The Dolphins have interest in adding a couple of guards in the draft process. They've given serious thought to drafting one, according to a source, and will be looking for interior linemen after the draft as well. Among several guards that have drawn their interest, according to sources, Hawaii's Micah Vanderpool and North Carolina State's Chandler Zavala. Zavala is an interesting name because, I'm a fan of Zavala. That's a very interesting name right there. And we know they met with him as well, too. So TCU guard center Steve Avila also could be in play in the second round. Kuiper has the Dolphins picking him at 51 in his latest mock draft. NFL.com's Zerline has said Zavala has above-average talent for driving opponents out of the run lane. He uses the pure power to match up with NFL interior defenders as a drive blocker. Zavala is a potential third-round pick. Vanderpool could be a priority free agent. Yeah, Zavala you're going to have to take with 51 or 84. If the Dolphins find a guard they like in the draft and are unable to find a right tackle to challenge Austin Jackson, the team would have the option of moving Robert Hunt from guard to tackle. The Dolphins started Hunt at right tackle. I don't think they want to go that route. Kuiper, speaking on a conference call, said Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs would make sense for Miami if he's available at 51, but Kuiper has him going 37th. He's not going to be gone. He's not going to be there by 51. All these mocks having him there at 51, y'all are crazy. He's a dynamic game breaker, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Had a drop against Tennessee, which was a rare drop. They could go Avila. If Gibbs were there, that would be an ideal pick for them. The Dolphins also have been laying the groundwork to add front seven players after the draft through the UDFA class. Among those, they like Pittsburgh's Deslin Alexander, the 6'4", 285-pound defensive lineman who attended Deerfield Beach High, had 5.5 sacks last season, and 16.5 across 47 games in Pitt. The Dolphins took him to dinner the night before their local day last week. And, as you know, guys that take to dinner are ones they tend to favor. There's no better football show on television than ESPN's NFL Live, thanks to the astute commentary of Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, and the comedic flair of Ryan Clark. But look what he says. But the debate about whether Tua Tagovailoa can stay healthy on that program has grown tiresome. And Barry Jackson goes on to say, listen, you can't project a player's health, so why do we keep talking about it? And he ain't wrong, all right? Barry Jackson ain't wrong because people are doing this on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook too, and my God, talk about something else already. And what I hate, this is what really taps my ass. All the people who are out here, especially in our community, in our fan base, that say he's one hit away, or he's a hit away from this. Do the research. It's one thing for fans of other teams who don't research the Dolphins to say that, but fans of our own team who haven't listened to what doctors, neuroscientists, they haven't listened to what all these neurophysicians have said regarding it, and they've all said the same thing, that by the start of the season, he's going to have the same brain baseline as someone who's never had a concussion before. So it's going to be like he never had one before. So they've talked about how it does not, even if he were to get concussion, he would start at the beginning of the process. It's not treated like a concussion that's compounded on the other ones because of where his brain baseline's going. We've got people in our own fan base that are so lazy and so ignorant and uneducated that even they say he's one hit away. That's what I don't like. Because last year, he cleaned up the ticky-tacky injuries. Now we just got to clear up the head stuff. And listen, sure, he's taking jiu-jitsu, and we'll see how that works out. But if you've noticed, look at his neck, too. Why is he... His neck is like a tree stump. Why? Because when you stabilize the neck, you're not going to have that whiplash as much. Right? If you stabilize and strengthen that neck, it's not going to whiplash and smack off as easily. So he's putting a lot of work into making sure that head doesn't smack anything and stays A-OK. So the whole one hit away thing, that really bugs me, especially from our own fan base, because you can't find a more ignorant take. There's literally research out there you can do from people in the neuro field, the neuroscience field, talking about this. And it just blows my mind. It really does. So, listen, and I agree what you just said, native Dolphin. There are less quality OT options at 84 than tight end. I agree. Like, I think Tucker Kraft may slip to 84. Brenton Strange will be there. Now, you'll be forced to take, like, if you like Zach Kuntz, you'll be forced to take him where you would have probably taken him in the 4th. Now you got to take him in the 3rd because we don't have a 4th round pick, right? So it becomes a game like that. Listen, I think tackle is a bigger pressing need. Right? I'm going to tell you this right now. Unless Laporta or Michael Mayer or Darnell Washington are on the board, you know, I'd take Jack Campbell over everyone if he was on the board. Hell, even if those 3 guys I just mentioned were there, I'd have a problem passing on Jack Campbell. And we're almost set at linebacker. But they're moving off Jerome Baker next year. And what do I keep telling y'all? The good teams always get out ahead of supplementing positions through the draft a year or 2 prior to either a contract coming up with a player or letting go a player that they already know that's not part of the long-term solution. One player that is part of the long-term solution here, and it's very interesting because a couple of players have done this now. Now, Robert Jones, the backup guard, he is signed to Rosenhaus Sports Management, but one that really matters in terms of a starter or starting slot guy, Kader Kohou, has signed to David Cantor. Why does that matter? David Cantor is the guy who represents Xavien Howard. So that's why that matters. FYI. So that is a very, very interesting circumstance because here's the thing, guys. Kader Kohou, you're probably get, extension. Like, we signed him as a UDFA. All right? And he vastly outperformed the money we paid him from Texas A&M Commerce. Now, he's about to enter the 2nd year of a 3-year contract, and he's scheduled to make just over, it's just about $1.855 million over the next 2 seasons. And then he becomes a restricted free agent. I think, if he has another good season, get out ahead of that, and they're going to try and probably lock him down before that 3rd year, right? So, and then you'll have a 3rd year of him on a really friendly hit. So, it is interesting to watch because him and Robert Jones, they're aging up. And Kader, now with, smart, right? Javon Holland's going to be better this year. Kader's going to be better this year. Jalen Ramsey, the ripple effect. Hey, if you can get paid off a young man, do what you got to do. King Short asks, if Campbell falls close to 40, do you trade up? I'm going to say no because I expect the talent pool to be decent still. Listen, I love Jack Campbell. Would I? Yes. Will they? No. Let me put it that way. Jack Campbell is an impact player. I think the only other impact player you could get, there's only talking about year one impact, because, tight ends, they do usually normally take about 2 or 3 years till you start seeing something, right? So if you're talking about like day one impact, I think the only guys that could probably rival that are like DeJuan Jones or Jahmyr Gibbs in terms of what Jack Campbell could bring to this team at day one. Man, I don't think either one of those guys are going to be there at 51. We'll see. But when you talk about impact day one starters, Jack Campbell's right up there. And hey, I know a lot of people, after what Eric Izakama and Channing Tindall didn't give us last year, a lot of people don't want to sit around and wait. They want immediate impact guys. Well, Jack Campbell is one of those. I do think Sam Laporta has the potential to be that. I do think Darnell Washington on his blocking alone has the potential to be that. But Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, and like DeJuan Jones to me are safer bets in terms of having a day one impact than a tight end, because historically it takes about 2 or 3 years. Kyle Pitts was a unicorn, and B, because of the quarterback situation, you saw year 2 he kind of regressed a little bit, but it wasn't on the player, it was more so on the situation and the environment, right? So we'll see. I don't foresee them trading up. If anything, I would expect them to trade back and try to acquire more picks. That's what I would say. Larry says, do I consider Bergeron a better guard prospect than tackle? No, it's just like Skoronski. I think some people are over. Listen, if you want a good, because I know you have Twitter, Larry, go look on Duke Manyweather's page and just go scroll. He was going to war this past weekend over Skoronski because arm length, a bigger deal is made of it. Remember, like, I kicked Slater into guard because of arm length issues. How wrong was I? Skoronski comes from the same school and looks like a better technician, and he's got the same length issues. But to me, he looks like the second best tackle in this class. Bergeron, to me, is a top 10 tackle. And what I like about Bergeron, I think Bergeron could play guard, but I also think he could play right tackle or left tackle. I really like Bergeron. Now, I think you'd have to spend the 51st. I don't think he'll be there at 84. That's the only thing I'll say. So that's that. And then I guess I do want to, I guess I will show you guys this today before I get out of here, because I always do it for y'all. I posted a mock I did, and I joked around saying, the perfect mock doesn't exist. Speaking of Matthew Bergeron, Larry. And this is what I did. I got Mazi Smith at 51, Matthew Bergeron at 103, Tyjae Spears at 148, Brenton Strange at 197, and then I doubled down on Carl Brooks at DT, because I look at Carl Brooks as an Ogba replacement. He could play inside, outside in what we want to do. So, that's why I took him. And also the linebacker, I didn't like what was available at 51, and I sure as heck didn't like what was available at 238. And for y'all who might be wondering, hey, how'd you get 103 and 148? Chicago traded, and they drafted a wide receiver that I'm very weary about, Boite. But we traded 84th for 103 and 148. So, man, talk about filling a lot of needs and a damn fine draft. Anyways, guys, I'm going to be live tomorrow for the Finish Line with the boys, then Neil on Thursday. Saturday, I'll be live with Ryan Roberts. We'll dive into the draft. Sunday, big board for defensive tackle. Until then, fins up, baby. I'll see all y'all in the next one.